Hello, this is Abhilya Rajendra, lecturer in English from Parliamentary, Pedagogy. I would like to share my topic about the resume writing. Nowadays, we come to know that there are similar words we have been observed: resumes, biodatas, and curriculum vitae. So, what it may be, we come to know that what is the important role that plays in our day-to-day life, because after getting some sort of experience, that means certificates, you may go for the interviews. Resume plays an important role. Uh, it's just like a ticket to an interview, and we come to know that biodata, which is very consistent, biodata is different and curriculum vitae is different, and resumes are, they are totally different from all these three. So when we come to know about the biodata is a small information about the personal details of a particular person who is going to attend an interview. And the next thing is curriculum vitae. Curriculum vitae is also consists some of the qualities, certificates or other informations about their SSC, and all things shall be represented in by curriculum vitae. Resume is which is a good impact of the speaker. Why do we go to the preferable thing of resume means, if an institution or in any industry, if the um owner of the company wants to know, that means he wants to get an employee who is really very helpful to the company or very helpful to the industry, they need some persons. And resume, a man who is going to attend the interview, the candidate, or we can say that a candidate who is going to attend the interview, he must be known about the company at first, because and he has to be very sure about the company, and he has to be get some information about that particular company, and what that means how can he help in the development of the company. That means a candidate has to go through with his wider range of knowledge, and he has to present the information, small information about the background of the company and how it's going to work, and what are the aims and objectives of the company, and how you are really helpful, and how you are really your hand and your teamwork and your management and your leadership can be helpful to the company, that you have to be presented in the interviews or in resumes. And when we look about the resume, how to build your resume for the workshop, it means you are going to work. And now uh, when we go through with resumes, there are different parts, different kinds of resumes that we can see. But suppose if you are writing a resume to an institution like a school or a college or whatever it may be, and these type of educational institutions can offer the resumes, and you have to be very clear about your point and how you are going to help, and what is the skill that you can have, and what is the knowledge that you can have that should be presented in the interview. And already I told you that resume is one of the simple biodata form, simple information form that may consist your ability and your knowledge and your certificates and your skills can be represented here. And what is resume? Before going to that, you will see that what is resume. Define what a resume is. There are two types of resumes. Resume formats. There are two types of resumes: resume format and the content. Resumes of format and content. And some most of the candidate who are going to appear for the jobs, it is the first impact. That means we can say that impression. The first impression should be with the resume that can be presented in the employers who is going to job, who is going to give you job for the candidate. That means resume has it can has a first impact on the mind of the uh, person who is going to give job. resumes, objectives, and other career profiles that can be seen. And there are helpful tips when emailing and scanning for the resumes also can be represented here. And today we are going to discuss what about the resume, and there are two kinds of resumes, and the formats and the content of resumes, and resume objectives, and career profile is also discussed here today, and how we are going to make the helpful tips to mailing or scanning the email, and how we are going to send our resumes. And most of the uh, times, the people who are really interested to send the resumes, they are going to the WhatsApp, Kaizala, and Telegram, and all that. They are following it. So when we look about the resume and how to build our resume, so you will also able to find these kind of opportunities, these kind of resumes that can create a job for different space and creates a professional cover to the little. You can learn from here how to create job preference pages and how to create professional cover letter to accompany your resume. That means without accompanying a covering letter, it cannot be a good format for writing sending resumes, and thanking letter for the employees is also you can see the interviews. And look at the best thing that we have to know that already I told you that the first impression is the best impression, and try to know that don't think that definitely you will get the second chance for anything else. So whenever chance comes to it, you at your doorsteps, and don't try to leave them. Don't try to leave them, and try to catch the first chance. That may you can get out of your problems, and you get a good and wonderful best job for your sake. And you never get a second chance to create a first impression. That means first impression is the first impression, and it cannot be created with the second chance. That means don't think that definitely you will get a second chance to win something else. So try to follow only one simple and mindful thought of the first impression while you are. And as well as we know that in some of the most of the interviews we can say that most of the interviews we can simply say that your body language has played it can be played 80% as of important role in your interview skills. So when we look about the interview skills, that's a different topic, and there are so many important tips for discussing about the interview tips. And here while we are discussing about the resume, it is the first impression that can create in the mind of the person who is going to conduct your interview. And try to follow some of the important things. That is resume is the first impact. Resume is the first impact or impression that can create a best impression of the candidate who is going to attend for the interview or who is going to seek job. Your resume is one of the first impression that is the potential of the employer. That means how you are going to show your capability that can be represented in your resumes. And a resume is a short account like 1 or 2 pages of your experience and qualifications and achievements. And as we all know that here we are not going to discuss about the biodata, your personal information, your ability, and your background, and your skills. It's all that can be presented in curriculum vitae, and most probably biodata we can say that our personal information, where do we live, and where we are from, and what about the family background, and it's all what we can say about the biodata and curriculum vitae. But resume, it may consist 1 or 2 pages that shows your qualifications and experience and achievements only, and it shows some extent of personal skills. It shows some extent your personal skills about the knowledge of the computer and knowledge of everything, knowledge of your skill about the tally and whatever it may be. That's all. What about the software side? And it is a goal to capture the reader's interest. And try to know that it's your goal to capture the reader's interest means it has to the reader has to if a reader has to read a resume, he has to be some sort of a good mind towards your resume, because appearing a simple resume, that means a simple resume can create a very good impact. And don't go through with the lengthy words, lengthy sentences, and almost all what we can say that a difficult vocabulary in your resume cannot be create a good impact. So it has to capture the reader's interest. Your resume has to capture the reader's interest, and try to write the simple words that can be that can be understandable by each and everyone, and simple vocabulary and simple sentences that may be create a good impact, and moreover it can be capture the interest of the reader. And if the resume can capture the interest of the reader, and it can create a good impact on in the interviews also. And most of the resumes get 20 to 30 seconds and scanned by the reader. And that means the reader who reads your resume, he must be follow only one, two steps that can read about your professional background, about your personal experience, about your qualifications. He must be concentrated on the main points what he wants to do. That means, and another important thing that you have to know that the reader is also, he is going to concentrate on a particular thing, that how you are going to help the company, and how what are your skills and what are your abilities that can help our company, that the reader can be seen, and it must have enough impact to grab the attention and the of the perspectives of the employer. It can grab the attention. It has to be, the resume has to be grab the attention of the employer, and he can definitely know that how you are going to help. That means how you are going to help to the company in the development. And the employers wants to know, and the main things that employer wants to know, that can be, that has to be represented in your resume. Otherwise, if they take a man who is um, if they select a man who is not really helpful for their company, and it's not a good thing for themselves. So, and what they look for. And if you are writing a resume, don't try to forward each and every forward a simple resume that can be useful for each and every interview. And companies, there are so many different companies. We can see there are so many different institutions. We can see that and they need different kinds of personalities and different kinds of employers, and who are they really helpful for their company in the developing of their company. So try to change your resume as according to the company which you are going to send. The company, which company you are going to send your resume. And what can you do for me? Employer can see that, a reader of the resume can see that, what can do for himself, and how can you help for the company? How can you improve our operations? How can you improve my operations? He can see that. And can you make me money? Whether he is taking a candidate, an employer, and how is going to help the companies, that is also most important thing. And they can look for that. If they are providing 20,000 or 40,000 salaries for you, and you need to help with the company up to the 80,000 or 1 lakh for the month, as a candidate, you has to earn for the company. And that plays a important role of developing of that particular company, and that they must be look forward it. And saving the time, saving my time, the employer can see that how can I save my time with the help of you as a candidate, and keep the customers happy. And they look forward for these. And your resume must not only show you the skills that you have, it must be demonstrate the success. So your resume must not only show your skill. So each and every person can have skills. That's a different task, but it must be demonstrated for the success. And there are two types of resumes are there. When we look about this resumes, some extents we can say that there are chronological order of resumes, and there are functional orders of resumes. And we'll see what they can do in what we can represent in chronological order of the resumes. It is the most common type of the resume that we can see in normal way of the normal type of resume. It lists previous jobs and dates, and most recent jobs the past. So it can easily represent the previous dates and the jobs that what we have done about our experience path, and how we can uh, uh, done the good thing. If the difference, it is identify the work, accomplishment, and skills connected to each job, and easier to prepare is generally and successful. And in some of the interviews, they're going to the means the reader or the interviewer going to ask the important thing that if a man added some of the experience just in the first list of the job or experience, and the interview asked a question like this, they would like to ask some questions like, why do you left the job, why do you left the your previous job, and you should be mention about the clarification of why you left the job. And that's the most important thing that in most of the interviews they would like to ask about these important things, and it is easier to prepare generally in a successful manner about this resume. And format of your resume is, you can carry or you can arrange a variety of formats. However, the most resumes follows this type of order. That means most of the resumes will follow these simple tips, and the format is like that. First of all, we would like to explain about our contact information, and it should be very clear, and it should be uh, at the first. At first, it can be create an impact. Your contact information should be very clear, and don't go through with the telephone number, that means cell phone number that you cannot be used in your uh, after after sending your resume. If you are not able to use your cell phone, don't put the number in that particular resume. Because most of the times we are going to observe that some candidates who are attending for the interview, they simply send the resume through email or on WhatsApp, and simply they are sending a mobile number, that means the contact information, which is very wrong. So it cannot create a good impact, and simply they would like to neglect you while you are going to attend the interview. Because if you are attending interview, you should be in contact with the employer or interviewer, with the reader. So objectives and careers also about your profile, your job profile, or your education must be represented in the second. And summary of your skills, that means it's optional, but whatever it may be, whether you can have the skills, and the skills should be represented in the next. And the second thing is, and the next one is work experience. You have to mention about your work experience in the format of how you are going to help in the previous company, that will be represented here. And your education qualifications and professional affairs are with optionals, and the military information also very important for that. And your contact information, what I told you, that is very important. Means how you are going to get your contact information, and your contact information is the most important part for your resume. It plays a wonderful. That means it's a important role for the resume. It can be represented with the name and address, city and pin code, and a telephone number, email. And while you are writing email, you should be careful about that, whether you are going to write the email address in a proper way or not. That is most important thing.